For years, one object has quietly haunted the Jeffrey Epstein story. Not a courtroom verdict, not a leaked photograph, but a small, unassuming address book, commonly known as Epstein's Black Book. On the surface, it looks ordinary, pages filled with names, phone numbers, and personal notes. But once it became public, it raised one of the most disturbing questions of the entire Epstein saga. How could so many powerful people be connected to him, and yet so few consequences follow? The Black Book first gained widespread attention after Epstein's initial arrest in 2006 and again after his 2019 arrest. Journalists obtained copies that allegedly belonged to Epstein and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Inside were hundreds of contacts, politicians, billionaires, royalty, celebrities, academics, and international figures from across the globe. But here is the crucial point. A name appearing in the book does not prove criminal activity. Many people listed may have met Epstein once, attended the same event, or had a professional interaction. And yet, the sheer concentration of power inside those pages made one thing clear. Epstein did not operate on the fringes of society. He was deeply embedded within its highest levels. So what exactly does the Black Book represent? Investigators and journalists have described it as a map of access. Not necessarily a list of crimes, but a record of proximity, who could be reached, who answered calls, and who moved within Epstein's orbit. In other words, it shows how Epstein positioned himself as a connector between wealth, influence, and opportunity. This is where the unanswered questions begin. Despite the public release of parts of the Black Book, many names were redacted or never fully examined. Authorities have never released a definitive official version. Instead, what exists is a patchwork partial leaks, journalistic copies, and court exhibits. Why? Some former prosecutors have stated that simply appearing in Epstein's records is not enough to warrant charges. Criminal cases require victims, corroboration, and evidence of wrongdoing. But critics argue that this explanation doesn't fully account for the lack of broader investigations, especially given Epstein's documented history of abuse and trafficking. Another mystery lies in the absence of certain names. Multiple survivors have claimed that Epstein introduced them to powerful individuals whose names either do not appear in the book or were never publicly discussed. This raises the possibility that the Black Book itself may be incomplete, outdated, or intentionally selective. Former associates have suggested Epstein kept multiple contact lists, some personal, some professional, and some deliberately compartmentalized. If true, the Black Book the public knows may represent only a fraction of his true network. And then there's the question of protection. Epstein received an extraordinarily lenient plea deal in 2008, allowing him to avoid federal prosecution despite serious allegations. That deal has since been widely criticized, even by members of the Justice Department itself. Critics argue that Epstein's connections, reflected in documents like the Black Book, may have played a role in shielding him from deeper scrutiny. Yet, no definitive proof has ever been made public to confirm coordinated protection by powerful individuals. What remains instead is a pattern: influence without accountability, proximity without consequences. The global nature of the names listed only deepens the mystery. Contacts linked to Epstein span the United States, Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. Financial institutions, private jets, elite universities, luxury properties, and political circles all intersected with his world. This wasn't just a single man committing crimes. It was an ecosystem that allowed him to operate, travel, and recruit with astonishing freedom. Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction in 2021 confirmed that Epstein did not act alone. Yet even after her sentencing, no additional co-conspirators were criminally charged in connection with Epstein's trafficking operation. This silence has fueled public distrust. If Epstein ran such a wide-reaching operation, how could there be no others held legally responsible? Were investigations incomplete? Were leads abandoned? Or were certain doors never opened? The Black Book sits at the center of these questions, not as proof, but as a symbol. It represents what many believe is still hidden: the full scope of Epstein's influence, the people who benefited from his access, and the systems that failed to stop him sooner. It reminds us that justice is not only about what is proven in court, but also about what is thoroughly investigated. Today, Epstein is dead. His closest known accomplice is imprisoned, but the names, the connections, and the unanswered questions remain. Until more records are released, and until more investigations are completed, the Black Book will continue to serve as a reminder not of what we know, but of how much we still don't. And perhaps the most unsettling question of all isn't who was written in those pages, but who never was. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that help is available. Resources like the National Sexual Assault Hotline and the National Human Trafficking Hotline are there to provide confidential support. You are not alone. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video informative, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into complex stories.